Hi, this is Tim Meyer from Keep Yourself Relevant. This is part two of our data flow diagrams course. In part two, we're going to be covering level 0 and lower level diagrams. So why don't we get started? So steps to creating a set of data flow diagrams. We had talked about this in our last video that the first two steps are creating a list of activities and then drawing a context diagram. We covered that in our first video. And today we're going to be covering how to draw a level 0 diagram and how to draw the lower level diagrams. And then in part three, we're going to go through the steps to verify the data flow diagram and then completing a functional decomposition. So we had talked about in level 0 and the context diagrams that there was an external entity, which could be a customer, a line representing a data flow, and a circle representing a system. When we get to level 0 and level 1 diagrams, we have an additional picture or icon to place on our diagrams, and that's a data store. Looks like this. And then we also have another one for process flow. Notice it has these rounded corners. There's different styles depending on the tool that you're using. I use Visio, and that's the style that we have here. And again, that's a process flow indicating that there's some business function that's being performed here. We had our example last week from Joe's Fast Food. I won't go through that in detail. You can see that in the first video. And then this was the context diagram. And again, we have these external entities. This is our overall system. And then these are the various data flows or activities that go through our system. And I've numbered them 1 through 9 to reference the information that we have here on this example. When we get to our level 0 diagram, then we need to make sure that we're including the external entities that we had from the context diagram. And then in this case, we're saying we have 3 main processes: selling food, producing food, procurement, and then payroll. And then we have our corresponding data flows and steps within each of these processes. So, and then in this case, we have a data store here where we're tracking the inventory of the food that we're selling. So we have these various flows, and you can see I've numbered them to be consistent with what we had on our context diagram. Then we would want to, the next step is to then decompose each of these 4 diagrams into its respective detailed pieces. So we go from the context diagram to the level 0, and then when we explode these become then the level 1 diagram. So level 1 diagram for 1.0 would be these steps. Again, we have to bring down the external entities that are related. If we go back up here for context diagram 1 here, we only have one external entity. For 3, we would have employees, and for 4, we would have payroll, and for 2, we'd have one customer external entity. So again, when we break down the level 1 diagram into its pieces, we then have another process take and confirm the order. We have a couple additional data stores. We have a customer data store and an order data store. We collect the payment, and then we give the customer a receipt. And then when we're collecting the payment, we're also recording that in our system. So this again is a breakdown of our level 1.0 diagram into its 3 pieces. If we look at level 2, we don't really break that down. It's just got the one piece, but we now have more details for some of the data stores that we want to keep track of our orders, as well as reducing our inventory as we produce the product. The level 3, then we're breaking that down into produce purchase order, receive goods, and then pay the vendor. And again, we have the 2 entities that we carry down from level 3, are the third process, the employee and the vendor. You want to make sure that you're bringing any external entities get carried forward as far as the downward diagrams. And then we have some additional data stores. And again, we have our various data flows as well. Example 2 was we covered in our first video. Again, these are the 12 different steps or actions and data that's flowing through our system, which is the ABC department store. Again, we have our high-level context diagram with 3 entities, employee, vendor, and customer, and then our overall system and our 12 different actions. We get our level 0 diagram where we have 3 steps. We sell the foods, we have our stock room, and then we have payroll. And again, we have our external entities, customer, vendor, and employees. We have a data store here for inventory and another data store for our order entry system. We break down level 1 into 4 pieces. One, browse inventory, try on shoes, collect payment, and create receipt. And again, we have these diagrams that may or may not have, in this case, we have a payment data store, an order data store, and a customer data store interacting with then our external entity of customer. Again, we have the level 1 diagram for process 2, which has 3 additional pieces. Take the orders, stock the orders, and adjust the inventory. Again, we have some external entities and our data flows and data stores. And again, decomposing our level 3 process into receive timesheet, approve timesheet, and make payment. We have our external entity of employee. So I hope this was helpful in understanding and breaking down the data flow diagram from the context diagram to our level 0 and level 1 diagram. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like and please consider subscribing. Thank you and have a good day.